Alright, this is a basic tutorial on the basics of Blender, just the layout mainly. So first of all, when you open up Blender, you get this splash screen. And I used to just go right around this, but there's a couple important things on here. First thing is the version number. 2.74 is the version that I have right here. And that's important because Blender is constantly updating their versions, which is a good thing because they're improving it. But it's difficult sometimes because when we watch tutorials online or from your teacher, sometimes the version is an old version and things have changed. And so I think version 2.68, the layout changed pretty significantly. So any tutorials beyond, before 2.68 are going to be pretty different than what we have in class. So that's the version number. A couple other things is recent files, so something that we've been working on recently, they might just be right there and we could click on them to open them up. And if it crashes, which it sometimes does, it's got an auto recovery, and we can click here, recover last session, and sometimes we can get back some of those things that we lost. If you click out beyond the splash page, it takes us to our layout here of Blender. The first thing that we see in front of us is a primitive object. It's a cube, and that's default. Start with the cube. We can always get rid of it and add a different primitive object to start with, but we start with a cube. We also have this funny looking thing right here. This is a camera, and so when we render images or take pictures of images, we use that camera in the view that it gives us. And this round thing here with this line below it is our light source. So we have one light by default. That's it right there. Now, a couple very simple things. I can zoom in by using my scroll wheel on my mouse, and if I go up on the scroll wheel, it zooms in on the cube. If I go down on the scroll wheel, it zooms out. And we can go way out or way in. In fact, eventually it will go inside the cube. So that's our zoom. Pan around the object. It's 3D. We can look all the way around this fancy looking cube. If I click and hold the middle mouse button, it is a button and we hardly ever use it, but we'll use it a lot in Blender or in 3D modeling. If you click and hold the scroll wheel and drag your mouse, that's our pan view button. Okay, so I can zoom in, click and hold that mouse button, and look all around that cube or whatever object I have there. So what I'll do is kind of show you the menus briefly and just go in a counterclockwise direction to show you these menus. I'm going to start up here. We have our basic stuff. We've got our file menu, which is standard with all programs. Let's do one thing before we get too far. User preferences. I'm going to click on that. And we've got a lot of different preferences that we can change. We're not going to mess with this too much, but for example, under themes, we can change the colors of everything and take it from grays to any other color that we want. Some people customize that and make it look kind of cool. Alright, let's go to editing real quick. Now, undos. We undo a lot, so when we get going on stuff, just kind of like in Photoshop, if you've ever used it, there's a whole undo history. Same in Blender. And so I think by default it's 30 something. We're going to increase that to 100. If you click and drag on any of these menus in Blender, so I clicked right in the middle and I'm dragging it, I can take it to whatever I want. But if you click once, you can change it by typing it. And so just click once, type 100, hit enter. Let's do at least 100 steps. If we go beyond that, it takes up more memory on the computer. So let's do 100. That should be pretty good for now. And save user preferences or user settings and close that. Alright, back to the menus. So this right here, the first thing that we see is called a viewport option or setting. If I click on it, I can change the viewport. If I hover over it with my mouse, it tells me what the viewport is. And there in blue, I would show it, but it would go away if I move my mouse. It says info. This is the info viewport. So this right up here is the information. So that's always going to be there. There's other viewports in Blender. There's one here, 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 and here. So those are all viewports. Now we can customize Blender as much as we want, make it custom to what we want. And there's, anytime you see these little diagonal markings, here, 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 they're all over the place. If you click those and drag, I can make as many little windows as I want. And that becomes dangerous sometimes if we don't know what we're doing. But if we do know what we're doing, we can open up a window and change the viewport and do lots of different things with this. To get rid of them, I click on it, drag slightly to the right till it gives me that arrow, and release, and it gets rid of it. So lots of customizing, lots of different viewports that we can choose from and use. Now, so render, this is how we render an image. We'll learn these things later on. We don't use these too much. Now, speaking of layout, this is changing the layout. This is our default layout with our menus over here and down here and on the left. We can change that to different things. Usually we don't. Scenes, we can create different scenes. If I added a scene right here, it would take away all this camera, light, object, and give me a blank canvas to work with, a blank scene. Here we have different renders, render engines. So we start, by default it's Blender Render, does simple renderings. There's a game engine which we won't use too much, and then Cycles Render, which we will use a lot. I'm going to just change mine to that. But Cycles Render does some fancier things and makes it look more lifelike or real life, photorealistic. And so we will use mostly Cycles Render. Let me go down here to this toolbar next. This is one thing that's changed quite a bit in version, or beyond version 2.68. And this is, there's a few different tabs here, but these are our tools here. We're going to use a lot of those tools. The next one is Create, and this is how we get different, if we deleted our cube, or if we just wanted to add a different mesh, or primitive, start with a different primitive. Those are all right there. Or a light source, we could add those, or lots of other things. So those are the two main ones we'll use here, Tools and Create. Coming down further, this viewport right here, if I hover over it, it's the 3D view. And that's our main viewport right here. This is our 3D view right here, as we've seen. Now if I change that to the image editor, it would change the whole thing to that. So if you get something that you don't recognize all of a sudden, it might just be this viewport here. And the default is 3D view. Down here I've got my timeline. This is more for animation, which we'll do a little bit of this semester. But this is a timeline. If you've done any video editing, it's got frames. So there's a frame per second rate, and that's that. So that's always there by default. I guess you could get rid of it. I've never tried that, but if I got rid of it, then I'd have a little more space to work with. Okay, this menu right here is part of the 3D viewport, and there's more menus here. A view, different views, lots of different views here. I can change views like this, and it changes the view of the cube, the 3D view. All sorts of stuff I can do. Those are shortcuts on the keyboard, but if I went into view, those are all right here. I was hitting keys on my number pad to make them go to different views. And right up here it says what view I'm in. So this is a right view, so that's the right side of the cube. If I hit 7, it would go to a top view. And it's perspective viewing, meaning that the back of this cube is smaller because it's further away. I could change that if I did 5 on the keypad. It goes into the orthographic view, and that one looks kind of funny now. Everything is the exact same size, and so it looks like the back is bigger because we're used to seeing the back smaller. So orthographic view, and there's different reasons for different views. We'll use them all. We use them a lot. So by default it's just perspective view. Selection, lots of different ways to select things. Add, this is the same thing as this create menu right here. A lot of my tutorials I use the add menu because, like I said, previous versions didn't have this right here, so it's real simple right here. Object, lots of things to do there. Now object mode, this is one that we use a lot. We change from object mode to edit mode usually. There's a couple other things we use, but if I change that to edit mode, it changes what the cube looks like. It gives me some vertices on there and edges. I can select those. I'm going to jump right over here and just show you these for now. Everything else we'll learn later. This, by default, it's vertex select. So if I right click on something, that's how you select in Blender. You right click on it. And I can select an individual vertex, and then I can manipulate that. These little arrows are directions that I can move it. So I'm going to undo all that. I can go to edge select, and I can move that one, or by hitting, well, we'll teach that later. We'll learn that later. The last one is face select, and I select a whole face that way and move it around. So that we will use all the time. Okay, that's this menu down here. Going over here, I'm going to go back tab. If I hit tab on the keyboard, it switches back to object mode. Over here on the right, we have a couple different viewports open, and this is just a menu. It's resizable. I can make it real big or real small. It just depends on what I like to see and how much I need to see. So first, up here on the top, if I hover over this is my outliner. And the outliner is important because it shows all of the objects that I have out here in my view. And so, like I mentioned before, a camera, a light, and a cube. These are all right here: camera, cube, and lamp. Now this is like Photoshop, where I can toggle the view temporarily or permanently if I just want it out of the way and I want to keep it for the future. But so the camera is right here. Now also cube is highlighted, it's white. That's because I have that selected. If I right click on the lamp up here, the lamp is now selected. If I right click on the camera is selected. So let me click on the cube and I'm going to get rid of my camera. It's still there, I will still be able to render, but I just can't see it in the viewport. And sometimes I go right here when I start and I get rid of, or I take the view away from the lamp and the camera. I get rid of them so that it's a little cleaner and they're not in my way when I'm doing some modeling. I could also get rid of the cube, but then I have nothing to work with. Render, this makes it so when I render it, it won't render the camera, which should be funny. Or it won't render the cube. So I hit render and there will be nothing there. If it's not showing on the view and I render it, it will still be there during the render unless I take that render view off. Okay, so that's the outliner. Lots of different other uses for it. Now, down here, if I hover over this is properties, and we use properties a lot. These are lots of important tools that we use, and there's a million things here. The first one is the render tab, the little camera. There's so many things. This is where I choose what size I want it, the resolution, the compression rate, all sorts of different things. Tons of stuff. Other menus we use quite a bit. I won't go into them right now, except maybe the materials tab. We use this a lot because this is where we get our colors. So this cube right here is just a basic white. I can click on that color and I have my whole color spectrum here, and I can change it. And it's not showing up. Let me try and get that. Yeah, so there's my color. So you can change it to whatever color. That's the materials. So we'll learn all about that later. Let me go back to defaults. They're all ones. Okay. Okay, I can, and you know, I can, like I showed before, whoops, not that. I can make different menus, change the viewport to something else. I can even stick a little 3D view there, and there it is down there. Fully customizable, tons of stuff to do. Let me show you this menu right here. Let me go back with this one. I can get rid of this menu here if I don't want it, if I want more space for modeling. And then when I get rid of it, it gives me this little plus. If I just click that once, it comes back. Or I can toggle it with the T key on the keyboard. T toggles off, toggles back on, off, on. There's another one right here, plus, right there. Click that plus. Here's kind of my properties tab, or you know, when I move my objects, it tells me exactly where they are. And so if I moved this on the z-axis, see how it's changing the number of the z right there? So it's up in the air now, or off the main starting point. I could put that right back by clicking once and hitting 0. It goes right back to the starting point. So this is the starting point of everything. Scale, I can make it different sizes, rotate it. If I clicked and dragged in the middle of this, see how it's rotating around the y-axis. And here's our axes down here. Z's going up, y to the right, and x coming out at us. And these are them right here on this grid. The grid is just for perspective. It's not going to be in the render or anything. So, and we could get rid of that if we wanted to, but it's nice to have that there. Let me change the rotation back to 0. Okay, lots of stuff we can do with this as well. I'm going to toggle it back off. That's the toggle key on this one is the N key. On, off, on, off. Okay. Alright, so that is a basic rundown of all the menus in Blender. There's a million things we can do with it, and a lot of things we will do with it. So those are the basics.